Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to use a few features like text shadow and backdrop filter in order to create this little effect where we've got this diagonal stripe going across some large heading text. Alright, well, let's get to work on this. Now obviously I've got most of the page set up here, and I want to focus on this text right up here in the header section. So I do have a header, and the only thing in there right now is my heading 1 for my big headline text. So let's go ahead and get to work on formatting that. I'll do that right up here. Now my heading 1 is going to have things like, let's see, I'll give it a color, HSL 200, 100%, 50%. Yeah, that's good. Nice shade of blue on there. I'm going to do a font weight of bold. I think that's bold by default, but I can't remember if I have a reset rule in here. I don't think I do, so the font weight bold's probably not really too critical. And I want this to be a really big font, so I'm going to do font size 6 text align center. Let's make sure it's showing up in the center of the space. That should be pretty good. And let's see how that's looking. Yeah, not bad at all. Now I'm going to put a little bit of padding, 0.4 ems, just so it looks like it's relatively centered in the space. I have a fixed height on that header, so if we just relied on the padding and I didn't have that header height on there, wouldn't be an issue. Okay, feeling pretty good about that. It's not too bad. And I think I'm going to go ahead and apply some text shadow to this. And I'm going to do 2 text shadows. I'm going to give it a -1 pixel, -1 pixel. That's going to be up and to the right, or I'm sorry, it's going to be to the left and up. So -1 is -1 pixels. We got our X value, that's to the left. Then the second -1, that's the up, that's the Y. I don't want any blur on this. And I'm going to do a really light gray, almost white. You know what? I'm going to do 2 text shadows. The other one will be 2 pixels to the right, 2 pixels down, no blur, and let's just do some bright yellow on that. So that right there is going to create the little shadow, the text shadow effect. So there's a little bit of white in the top left, a little bit more yellow in the bottom right. Now for the stripe. Now for the stripe, we're going to use a pseudo-element. That's where I do H1 colon after. And for the pseudo-element, I will do, let's see, display. No. Let's do content first, empty set of quotes. And that's normally all you need. It's my habit to also do display block, but it is a block element by default, so that's truly not necessary. And now that I've got that on there, I want to be able to at least see it for the short term. So I'm going to do an outline, 1 pixel solid red, just so I can visualize it. I'm going to give it a width of, I'll start off with 100%, but I don't want it to be that much wider than my actual heading text. And I'm going to give it a height of about, let's start off with 2 ems so that we can see it here. Yeah, so there we go. We can see how big that block is. I'm going to knock that down to 0.5 ems. So we can see we can control the height of that pseudo element, and that's ultimately going to be the thickness of the stripe. I'm going to dial that way down just to 1/4 em. Yeah, let's go with that first, and then we can always make it smaller if necessary. Now I want to move that stripe a little bit higher, so I'm going to head back to the markup here, and let's do a position relative, which is great for nudging an item a little bit. And I'm going to do top. Let's try something like -1 em. Let's see how that looks. A little too high. So let's dial this back to 0.5 em. Okay, that looks like it could be better. Now I'm going to put a little rotation on this. Transform, rotate, -2 degrees. Just want to put a little bit of a twist on that. That's not too bad. I'm going to still move it up a little higher. -65 ems. Yeah, I want the bottom part of the stripe to be at the bottom, the left letters, the top part to be at the right. I think that's good. Yeah, I think we can work with that. Now for this little effect with backdrop filter. Now what I'm going to do here is Hue Rotate. Hue Rotate's kind of neat. You put in a number here, degrees, 0 to 360 degrees. So if I did 180 degrees, that's going to be the color opposite of the primary color. So my primary color is this shade of blue. So if I did 180 degrees away from that, that would be the complementary color for it. Let's see what that does for me. And there we go. That creates that orange stripe. So then it's simply a matter of changing the width of this object, this pseudo-element, instead of 100%, maybe it's 1100 pixels, just to get it a little bit smaller. Now I do want that to be centered over the space, so we can make sure we do something like margin 0 auto. That should center it pretty nicely. There we go. We don't want it to be much bigger because it could interfere with other content on the page. Once we're satisfied with that, well, then we simply get rid of that red outline, which was just there so we could see what was going on, and our illusion is complete. We've got our blue text with our contrasting or complementary color stripe on there at an angle with a little bit of text shadow. Thanks for hanging out with me.